All right, so today we're diving into a pretty interesting device called the Growband, which claims to be a new kind of fix for hair loss. Now, it's really important to know that everything we're about to go through comes straight from the company's official website, and they've got a very different theory about what's really causing baldness.
For years and years, the conversation about hair loss has always been about two things: hormones and genetics. But what if the real problem was something more physical, more mechanical? The website we're looking at today suggests that maybe, just maybe, the common treatments are missing a huge piece of the puzzle.
So, let's kick things off with what they call the hair loss dilemma. This is all about why, for so many people, the usual treatments can feel like a constant uphill battle that you just can't seem to win.
Okay, let's talk about a big one: minoxidil. You've probably heard of it. It's a vasodilator, which is just a fancy way of saying it helps widen your blood vessels to get more blood flowing to the scalp. But here's the key argument from the Growband website. They say this is just a temporary band-aid. It doesn't actually fix the reason blood flow was restricted in the first place, which, in their view, is why you're kind of locked into using it forever. And that leads us right into the core of their entire argument. This is where they totally reframe the problem. They want us to stop thinking about it as just a chemical thing and start thinking about it as a mechanical thing. So let's dig into their tension theory. And here it is. This is the big idea. The website basically says, hey, the real villain here isn't just your hormones or your genes. The primary driver, the thing that kicks it all off, is something physical: chronic, constant tension in the muscles of your scalp. So how do they back that up? Well, they point to a study that used these cool 3D computer models to actually map out where the scalp is under the most stress. And what they reportedly found was pretty wild. The areas with the highest tension almost perfectly matched the classic M shape and crown patterns of male pattern baldness.
So, okay, how does tension supposedly lead to hair loss? The website lays out this four-step chain reaction. It all starts with that chronic tension. They say this leads to inflammation and something called fibrosis, which basically means the tissue around the hair follicle gets hard and stiff. That, in turn, squeezes the blood vessels, cutting down on blood flow and oxygen. And the final step? The hair follicles get starved and start to shrink. Now, this is where their theory gets really interesting, because it tries to connect the physical tension back to the hormonal side of things we've all heard about. They highlight this quote, which suggests that the low oxygen environment created by all that tension actually makes it easier for your body to create DHT, the hormone linked to hair loss. So they're proposing a direct link between the mechanical and the chemical.
So, after laying out this whole theory of what the problem is, the source, of course, introduces its solution. This next part is all about the device itself and exactly how it claims to jump in and break that chain reaction we just talked about. And here it is, the Growband. So what is it? Well, it's a battery-powered, hands-free gadget that you wear, and it uses these programmable cycles of inflating and deflating to give you a really targeted scalp massage. The whole goal is to directly push back against that scalp tension and get the circulation going again. The website says the device works in 3 ways at once. First, you've got the straightforward scalp massage: pinching, squeezing, pressing the scalp. Second, it actually grips and gently lifts the scalp to help relax those tight muscles around the edge. And third is its concept they call pressure-induced vasodilation, or PIV. The idea is that the upward pressure from the device physically helps widen the blood vessels from the outside in, giving blood flow a boost.
Okay, so a cool theory and a fancy device are one thing, but you're probably wondering, what about proof? Does any of this actually work? Well, let's move on and take a look at the studies and user results the website presents to back all this up. The website really frames this as a choice, setting up this direct comparison. They paint treatments like minoxidil as being superficial, something that only works as long as you keep using it. But they position the Growband as something totally different, a fundamental solution that tackles what they claim is the actual root cause, the tension, to create a much more long-lasting effect. For evidence, they point to a 2019 study that was all about scalp massage. And the big number they highlight is this one. Nearly 69% of the people in the study reported that their hair loss had either stopped or actually started to improve. So their argument is basically, see, the core principle of our device already has some science behind it. And they don't stop there. They also bring up other clinical studies, ones where people got injections, kind of like Botox, to relax their scalp muscles. According to the site, those studies resulted in excellent regrowth with no side effects, which they use as even more proof for their big theory: relieve the tension, regrow the hair. Now, let's get to the user results they show off on the website. Here's the first one. It claims a significant improvement right on the crown, and the site even projects that this user could see a full recovery in about 6 months.
And check this one out because it's really specific. This testimonial makes a pretty bold claim that the user's hairline actually moved forward by about 1 centimeter. And they even use a freckle on the person's forehead as a ruler to show what they're calling excellent regrowth.
All right, so after laying out the theory, the device, and the evidence, the source brings it all home. They give their final verdict, really trying to position the Growband as the clear winner in the world of hair loss treatments. They put it all into this little comparison table pulled right from their site. You can see how they line things up. They highlight the Growband Pro as a one-time purchase with, they claim, 0 side effects. And they contrast that with things like topicals and DHT blockers, which they list with monthly costs and higher risks of side effects.
And really, it all boils down to this one single idea. This is their entire pitch. They argue that while all these other treatments are just scratching the surface, the Growband is the only thing out there that attacks what they claim is the true underlying cause of it all: scalp tension and the reduced blood supply it creates.
So we'll end with the big question that's at the heart of all these claims. Is it possible that the real secret to treating hair loss isn't in a pill or a cream, but in fixing the physical mechanics of the scalp itself? It's a fascinating theory that the company is putting forward, and whether it could truly redefine how we look at hair loss, well, that's the ultimate question.